Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here this morning. Thank you for waking up, being a part of this journey. It is the 28th of January, 2026, people. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you for being here. I know I have not been on a live recently, but it is because we are growing. We are taking some steps to get to the next level. And as we are journeying there are some things that we need to be able to do more efficiently. I'm excited to say that we are still investing in the growth. OG, good morning. How are you doing? We are still doing our investment program. Next Friday, we'll give you an update as to more about how that's going. I just wanted to say good morning, welcome in. Thank you for being here. And as always, I want to encourage you guys to get up, get your day started with positivity, get it started with expectations, not just for others, but expectations for yourself. And interest in achieving your goals, knowing where you're going and how you're doing. This morning, it is the 28th of is the 28th of January. I keep wanting to say September because my birthday is in September. It's the 28th of January. I want to thank everybody for being here, for taking a part. Please do me a favor as you stop in. Check in like OG did. Let me know where you're checking in from, what time of day it is, where you're checking, uh, um, what's going on with you, how your day has been going. This morning, I want to talk to you guys about being able to focus on knowing your your growth. Give me a second. Let me fix this camera. Knowing your growth method, right? The path in which you're growing. For for a lot of people, development and growth is believed to be linear. It is not. It is not a straight line by far, people. And the reason this is important for us to understand that growth is not a straight line is because when we run into challenges, when we run into difficulty, when we come into situations where things may not be as they've been in the past, we can get deterred. I want to encourage you this morning, do not get deterred. Do not get put off because what you're looking to achieve is not traveling in a straight line, right? And a large part of the reason why it's not going to travel in a straight line is because we often have to make adjustments to our uh, to our own development, right? And so this morning, I want to encourage you that where you're going, what you've been through, is all leading towards something. Don't ever give up on that. Give me a second. I'm trying to get this thing to turn this feature off. It might get dark for a second, guys. Hold up. And now, apologize for that, guys. Some of the things that we're working on and improving ours daily. Um, but thank you for being here as always. Make sure you check in, guys. Project, what's up? Thank you for being here this morning. And so I want to be able to share with you why never giving up is important. Top Gun, thank you for being here. Welcome in. As always, guys, as I said before, as you check in, let me know where you're checking in from, what time of day it is, where you are. Being able to um, just know what do we have. Uh, right. So being able to understand where we are, where we're going is always great. Welcome in, Heavy. God bless you this morning. Uh, I'm good for any questions that are legit. I don't have any problem with legitimate questions. So please share. Uh, this is make sure. But again, remember this morning we're talking about growth. We're talking about how we're focusing on understanding growth is not a straight line, right? And so I know from my own experience, for some of you who may know, I spent a lot of time bouncing from career to career, looking for the thing that would be um, the thing that would be my thing, right? So I was a lifeguard. I was um, a manager in food service. I was a manager in fitness. I did all types of work with youth. I did adult training courses. I did, what else did I do? I did uh, management and retail, development, growth. So I went to a lot of different places, but as you learn a skill, and this is important, guys, what you're going to realize is as you learn skills, as you start to develop and grow your skills, grow your ability, you're going to find out that there are things that you didn't know that you needed to know or you needed to be able to do first, right? And when we start to grow, when we start to develop and work on ourselves, when we come across these things, it's going to change what we're doing and how we're doing in that particular space. Thank you very much for being in. Build a better fable. Welcome in, brother. Welcome in. How you doing, nephew? I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you. Took me a second. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be. Took me a second to catch up. And so what you'll start to see, and one of the things that I had to realize is when I started to grow and I started to kind of hone in on the thing that I wanted to do or the way I wanted to do that thing, then um, um, I noticed that there were things that I missed. And I can give you an example. In the gym, I started working out and I was like, hey, I want to develop my chest. You know, women like big chests and broad shoulders. So I need to be this guy. And so I start doing exercises, right? And then I notice like I'm getting a lot of chest developed down here, but I'm not getting that big round chest up at the top. And so um, when I started to do, I had to figure out that I could do bench press at different levels, right? Different ways. I could do incline, I could do decline, I could do hands wide, hands in. I could do, like, there were so many different ways of doing push ups or doing bench press that it would impact different areas of the chest, not information that I had before. Why is this important? Because I thought my growth would just be, I'll just get a better chest. But once we start to learn things and we start to realize, yes, you have the ability to grow. You are growing, you are developing. But when you learn things, I actually had to take a step back. I had to change the way I was training my chest. I had to change the way I was working out. I started to understand this is how muscles grow. This is how they recover. This is what must be done. And so as I started to travel along that path as well, I came to a realization that I had to slow down. I had to not train every day, and then maybe you should work on your legs too. So these are all the types of things that are important because as we start to grow, this is important. We think it's a straight line, but when you truly start to develop and you start to grow, the more things you learn, the more you want to incorporate. But here's the next part. This is one of the biggest things is we start to think that we must incorporate everything, that everything that we've learned, everything that we've achieved, all of this has to be incorporated either at the same time or in the same way. And that's not how it works. So for that part, I think it's important for us to always keep in mind that growth won't be straightforward, won't be linear. Heavy had a question. What do you think about the influence of gospel on young black men? I see a lot of young fellas on here moving towards Muslim religion, and I know this sounds completely off topic, but I really want to know how and why this is happening. Okay, so Heavy, I'll respond to that. Um, Faith is very, very intimate, and I believe one of the things that's starting to happen, not just with young black men, but just in general. One of the things that we're starting to see happen across the board, just with people, is as we start to learn, and this is what I mean about growth isn't linear. As you start to grow and you start to ask questions, which is the impetus, right? The impotence of learning is you must be willing to ask questions, and then you must be willing to seek the knowledge, right? There's a couple of things. There is the thing that you see because the area that you're in is showing it to you. And then there is what you experience because what you're living is an actual thing. The application and as you say, the influence of the gospel is entirely predicated on how those of us who say we are Christian or who say we are Jewish or Muslim or Buddhist, that application of your faith speaks to the community that's directly around you. It does not take much because we as humans are flawed in this way, and we look at the man and we don't look at the faith. We don't look at God. We so quickly can take our eyes um, off of what is important to us, right? And we start looking at the person. And then that person or that group of people start to define for you what your faith should be, right? And it starts to, if you have negative experience, that negative experience starts to lead you in a way where you're like, okay, well, I don't want to be here, or I don't like these people, or I don't like how I'm treated. And all of these things can start to compound and build up. What's really important is understanding first and foremost that your faith is such a personal and intimate thing. If you are not spending time with God and growing your faith, I mean, it's just like you have to be around what you want to be, right? You have to understand, and I think that's the problem, is that in a lot of things in life, we try to teach people how to be us versus how to find out who they are and be the best version of themselves. You're not going to everyone's not going to be you. Everyone may not speak like you. Everyone may not engage like you. They may not have the same temperament as you. They may not have the same interests. Some will be artists, some won't. And so what happens is we look at people, and for so long, faith has been taught as be like me, do what I do, right? That's why all of your preachers go, I need to, and it's no, like, I'll put it to you like this. If a rapper comes out with a good sound, for as many people who can copy that sound, right? For as many people who can copy that sound, they will. They will copy it. And if they can reproduce it, the audience can't see the difference. And so the audience listens to all of them. right? And so the message, it's not even whether or not they are both putting out good stuff. The message gets kind of blended in there because they all sound the same. It's the same thing when it comes to faith. And so when we're all listening to and we're all hearing from different people, but in the same way, but they're saying things a little differently, then you are creating a space and you are creating a reality, right? Where the individual doesn't know what to do. And so the first time they see something a little different, right? And then it gives them voice, right? It gives them a reality. The first time they go somewhere and they're like, hey, you're important. It's not about this church or this mosque or this synagogue. It's not about the money you pour into it. It's about you're important. We care about you. We want to invest in you. We want to see your development. And this is what leads, and this is the influence, because we have to understand there's a difference between the gospel and the faith. And when you start talking about connecting with humans, when we talk about the ministry of Jesus Christ, he went out into the community and connected with the people. When everyone says, what about the word? And he says, I am the word, right? And so now we're all looking at somebody to be Jesus. And it's not going to be another Jesus, right? And so this is how we find ourselves walking into these venues and walking into these places where young people of all nationalities, of all races, are looking away, right? Like the same way you could say Islam is a rapidly growing faith in the United States. Over in China, Christianity is a rapidly growing faith. Over in your Asian countries, Christianity is growing rapidly because for as much as we think we've spread the word, there are billions of people on the planet. And so my thing is this, is the influence of the gospel comes from the influence of the people who are living the life. Are you walking the faith? Can people see Christ through you? And if you're walking the faith, if you're living it, if you're believing it, if we're not out here trying, like we spend so much time trying to prove people wrong that we're not showing people right, right? Like I spend so much time trying to prove to you that you're a bad basketball player that I never show people that I'm a good basketball player. That's going to be important, right? That's because I feel like I'm not doing my part. Keep in mind, doing your part is living the life, right? And it's like anything. And this, so one of the things I always talk about here is going to be discipline. Discipline is repetition, patience, consistency, and perseverance. It doesn't matter if you're applying it to your faith. It doesn't matter if you're applying it to your finances. It doesn't matter if you're applying it to your relationships, your job. It all requires the same way of addressing it. And the thing that's going to be important is that when we work with discipline, which is going to be that repetition, patience, consistency, and perseverance, what has to happen during that time is we have to focus on who we need to be and on where we're going in our faith, right? We have to, like again, it's so often we look outside of ourselves, right? And that leading by example thing isn't about, hey, look at me. It's about, what are you bringing to the world? Are you a light to the world? Like so many of us say, oh, well, I'm a child of God and I'm a Christian, and I would have to pull up my Bible to do a little bit of this research. But one of the things that happens is we talk about, oh, well, I'm a child of God, and I do praying and fasting. So just a moment. And so one of the things that start to happen, as I said before, is we start to look towards man. We start to look towards people versus looking towards faith. Um, and I want to make sure I have the right scripture here. Yes, and I believe this what it says. It's one of Jesus' scriptures. This is in Matthew 6:16 through 18. When you fast, do not look somber as the hypocrites do. For they disfigure their faces to show others they are fasting. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. And this is something that I've shared before, guys. Why are you doing something? Are you doing something to be seen? Or are you doing something to be successful? Right? This is a principle that not only aligns with your faith, but with your walk in life. Right? And then it goes on to say, and this is the NIV version, but when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face. Get up and get dressed. Don't walk into your office, right? It says so that it would not be obvious to others that you are fasting, but only to your Father who is unseen, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. When we start talking about if what you want to do is you want to be a better voice, right? And again, I keep saying this, and the principles of faith are important in regards to how we build and how we grow. Your faith, your relationship with God is intimate, right? As the scripture speaks to, your relationship with Christ is intimate. You have to sit down, you have to read. Yeah, praise and worship is beautiful. Yeah, Bible studies are beautiful. All that's great. You got to sit down with God. You have to pray. You have to develop a relationship where it's for you, right? We get to praying, God, make me a vessel. Hold on. God, like can we chill? Can we hang out? Can I spend time with you? Because this relationship that we're in, this relationship that we're talking about, this faith that we have requires our commitment to it. And we spend so much time looking at others, asking people to look at us, trying to change others, trying to do things that are designed to create a visual, right? That we're not developing a relationship good enough with God for ourselves because we think it's time for us to go show somebody else. God, correct my walk, guide my steps, shine through me, right? So, and I get it. I understand praise and worship. I understand wearing a cross. I understand carrying your Bible. I understand knowing your word. All of those things are a part of your development, not to go out and to argue it, but to internalize it and to live it. And you have to pursue it. You have to approach it the same way. You need repetition. Are you praying daily? Are you reading daily? Are you studying? Do you know the context of where what you're reading came from? For so many people, they don't understand that the New Testament was written primarily in Greek, even though the people of the region were Aramaic, which means they spoke Arabic, right? And so because they spoke Aramaic, and Aramaic as a language is a very metaphorical and visual type language where there weren't words in the Old Testament. There were no words about science. There were no words of science. And then during the time of Jesus, when the Greeks were enrolled during that time, one of the things that we have to understand is when they started to write, right? When they started to write these books, specifically there's crossover between Matthew and Mark and the disciples who were following Jesus. When they start to write these books of the Bible, they're writing in a language that is not native to them, right? They're writing in a language that is they were not, for some of them, they were born speaking, but it's their other language. It's the other it's the it's the other way of speaking. And so now they have to write and put this text down and try to convey the stories of the life of Christ as they're walking with him in a way that everyone can understand, which is why we've had so many changes and different things that happen. And so it is your walk. If I can encourage you to do anything, if I can encourage anyone to do anything, focus on your faith and growing your relationship and your connection with God. Get to know the Father. Make it about your relationship and your walk, right? We have to make sure. So in your house growing up, um, you never asked your parents, I don't believe, I know I didn't. I never asked my parents, how do I make more people think that you're the best daddy in the world, right? You didn't. But we all looked at other people. We all looked at what other fathers did. We all looked at who got picked up at what time. We all looked at, you know, what fathers showed up where and how everything applied in their situation, right? We looked at those things. It doesn't mean that this is the only way. Give me a second, guys. It doesn't mean this is the only way to show or the only thing to do. What it truly means, however, is that for anything that we want to do, we must start. We must start with ourselves. And this is what development of self starts with. This is how um, the impact of others comes in. And this is one of the things, and this is why, and I'm going to go back to our original topic, which is simply that when you talk about growth, we have to be able to understand, excuse me, that it's not a straight line, right? And when we start to apply the principles of discipline, which I said before is repetition coupled with patience, you get consistent when you make a plan and you know where you're going. Because consistency requires for you to be able to grade, right? So consistency will ask you to grade what you're doing, right? In a manner of consistency will ask for you to say, hey, in regards to your expectation, like you have to set an expectation to be consistent. You don't need that to be repetitious. That's something that's very important, which is why I say we have to start off with repetition. It does not start off with consistency. You cannot be consistent at something that you do not know how to do well and you don't have the tools for. You just can't be consistent at it. Stop thinking that you can jump directly into consistency, especially for those who have not taken the time to establish just the repetition of it. We have to have the repetition. We have to get to a point where we say, okay, I can get up and do this thing. I can just show up to do this thing. I could just tap the brick, right? That's the repetition. We have to follow that with patience, understanding I know the more I do this, the better I'm going to get at it. I know I'm growing this skill, I'm learning it. And again, it doesn't matter if you're applying it to your relationship, your job, your finances, your family. It's the same thing. I have to show up on a regular basis. And then I have to be patient, understanding that this is going to lead to something, that I'm working towards something. And then we'll follow that with uh, consistency, which requires setting an expectation, setting a benchmark, setting a standard of where you're trying to get to. And then once we move through there, we get to perseverance, which means we're growing. This is a step beyond patience. This is the step that says, hey, I've learned this, I'm doing it. And this isn't a straight line, and there will be roadblocks and there will be areas where I'll stumble, but I'm going to continue to work, to move forward, to do what I've done, continue to grow my skill and become stronger and move forward, because that perseverance is the salting of the soul. That is how you are who you need to be, where you get to see what it is you want to see. Those things are important. Good morning, welcome in. I truly appreciate you, brother. I hope all your dreams come true. Thank you for, no problem. Thank you for dropping in, Heavy Rider. Thank you all for being here this morning. Again, if I haven't said thank you or called your name, I appreciate all of you who've joined this morning, become a part of this conversation. Please do not hesitate, guys, to drop. Let me know where you're checking in from, what time of day it is, where you are. It's always good to see you. And so, this morning, the conversation is a simple one. It's about how growth is not, it's not linear. It's not a straight line. Arriving at our goals and achieving our goals will require for us to make, to take steps that allow for us to grow and for us to achieve outside of the space where everyone believes that it should be, outside of the space that we even believe that it should be, because it's not this straight line. You're not going to go from, you know, uh, frontline server to team trainer to assistant manager to market leader to whatever else may happen. You may go a lot of different places. You may go into different businesses. You may go into different different focuses. You like so many things may change along the way that will create a path for you, but it requires the same thing. It requires repetition, patience, consistency, and perseverance. Nancy watching from Dallas. Welcome in, Nancy. I believe last time you called in, you were thinking about moving, or last time we were on a walk and talk, you were thinking about moving because of your current community and job placement and lease coming to an end. I don't remember all of the details, but I'd love for you to update me. Let me know how that's going. Uh, Lots of snow is on the ground here. There's some on the ground here as well. We had a pretty good amount of here in the Northeast. Thank you so much. And so this is how we want to develop our life. This is how we want to develop our growth. We have to be able to, one, make sure we're focusing on ourselves, where we're going, what we're attempting to achieve and to accomplish, and do so with intent and purpose. It's not going to be a straight line. It's not always going to be this thing comes immediately after this thing that comes immediately after this thing. Quite often, it's going to be this thing happens, which taught me this thing, which showed I needed that thing. I had to go back and learn how to do this thing correctly. And now I'm back at this thing that I learned when I did that. Like, there are going to be so many different ways that you're going to grow and you're going to develop and you're going to mature, so many different ways where you're going to have people and information come to and leave your life that are going to help you as you grow. But we have to be able to understand all of these things give us power. All of these things give us knowledge. All of these things give us a better understanding and a way to work towards our future. That's going to be important because if we look at experiences as something that held me back versus I something that I lived or went through and it taught me this. And not all lessons are going to be pleasant ones. Not until it's got to be one of the things that has to be important is understanding that even when we have these lessons that we're learning, quite often we'll find ourselves learning lessons because we put ourselves in situations that now we need to be taught this. Now we need to have this experience because sometimes you can get some guidance, you can get some information, and it tells you go right. And you're like, yeah, but if I go left, the information is still like, listen, I'm telling you, go right. You need to go right here. Yeah, but yeah, if I go left, and then we go left, and now we have to deal with those consequences of going left. And a lot of times, just as humans, it is easier on a psychological basis. It's easier for us mentally when we can look at a situation and absolve ourselves of responsibility. It just makes it easier. It doesn't hurt as much when it's someone else's fault, when it's someone else's actions when it's something that someone else did, it allows for us to get up and continue to move forward. It is difficult for you to say, I'm here because I put myself here. I'm here because I made these decisions. I took these steps. I went down this path. I traveled it. This is on me, right? That's that intention that's acting with it, that's paying attention and acting with intention, which requires for you to be aware of yourself. So growth, especially and growth in anything, when we're using discipline, it's not going to be a straight line because we have to understand that we're a part of this, that we are a part of our growth and our investment in time. Um, Welcome in Sweden, randoms people streams to hopefully. I definitely hope I'm spreading some joy. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, have a good evening, Nancy. Enjoy your rest. Thank you for stopping in. It is random people's feeds in Sweden. Hello, everyone in Sweden. Thank you for being a part of the just stopping into the channel. Thank you for giving me an ear. I hope I am bringing joy. Our focus here on B&V is about understanding that any of the things that we want to do in life require for us to approach it with discipline. Discipline is a very simple four-step process that starts with repetition and moves on to you have to do repetition with patience. It's going to move on where you're going to create a plan, know where you're going. You're going to develop some consistency and the method in which you work towards that plan. And then it's going to take perseverance. You're going to have to persevere, understanding that it's not going to happen overnight, but this consistency that you're putting in is going to start to show benefits. It's going to start to grow and give you the results that you're looking for. And I believe we can do this in a way that is beneficial to ourselves and to the community. And I bring this up, and the reason Finance Fixer is in the name is because finance is not just about money. Finance is about bringing together the resources, the tools, and the investment required to achieve a task, right? And for so many, when we go out into the world, all of that requires starting with some money, right? It requires I need to get the money to do it. But when you're talking about your life, your finance starts with you. How are you mentally invested in your development? Right? These are investments. How are you emotionally invested? How are you physically invested? What are you prepared to put up in exchange for the return of who you will be in the future? And that's the first part of financing is understanding you're the project. You're your initial project and you need to finance your growth. You need to find the time for reading, find the time for laughing, for growing, for connecting, for developing. You have to be able to do that as a part of your growth process. And financing your own life, financing yourself as your premier project requires taking a stop, taking a moment to look at the areas of your life that need your attention, paying attention and acting with intention until you develop some discipline in the areas that you want to see growth. You cannot put it on auto drive because if we do not act, if we don't pay attention and act with intention, we won't see the development we want to see. And as I said earlier, quite often we want to say this is somebody else's fault. Well, this is because somebody did this, or this is because somebody did that. It starts with us. When we start, as soon as we become aware of the fact that we have a say so in how we do things, and it happens very early on in life, when we understand that we get to make the decision on how we're going to live, then we have to start to take responsibility in taking those steps. Even if you're young, even if you're a teenager and you're deciding, I don't want to listen to or do what my parents say I need to do. And in a lot of cases, especially because let's not act like all parents are good parents. Let's not act like all people are good people. In some of these situations, you're growing up in a space where it's like, excuse me, yeah, this isn't good. This isn't the way I want to live. This isn't the thing that I want to have be a part of me. I'm going to do some things differently. I'm going to behave differently, act differently, implement behaviors differently. I'm going to make some decisions on how this is going to work for me. You're making some decisions, right? And it doesn't matter how much guidance, good or bad, that you're receiving from others, you've already moved yourself into a space where you are taking control of your growth and your development. So don't think just because you're in school, just because you're in college, just because you still live in your parents' house, just because you're not making your own money, that you are not responsible for the financing and for the investing into your life and your development. You are. As soon as you become aware of this, it is imperative that you start to take action. And if we're adults, if we're talking about 25, 35, 40 years old, and we're still pointing fingers at, oh, well, my daddy was this, or my mama was this, or my aunt was this, or my cousin was this, or I had to go through this. We have to bring it back in and understand that the investment into our life is going to require us, especially if we're pointing fingers at people who we no longer talk to, people who no longer have a say so on how you do something, people who are no longer there to say you can or can't do this thing. When we're talking about the decisions that we're making for ourselves, the steps that we're taking for ourselves, and the growth that we're looking for ourselves, and we're pointing fingers at people who are part of our past, it is a mistake. We must own our life, right? And finance is about building, investing, and owning your life, your experience, your next steps. It's about owning that. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning, guys. Thank you for stopping in. If you haven't done so yet, please do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that like button wherever it's at on your screen. Maybe you're on the phone, you can double tap. Maybe you're watching at home from the computer. You should be able to hit a button on there somewhere that simply says, hey, I'm enjoying myself. I appreciate what's going on. Please do not hesitate to like. Also, guys, you can subscribe, you can share. Great way to let other peoples know. Give me a moment about the different ways to be of support. Um, I'm going to recommend, if you haven't had an opportunity to do so, please go back, take a look at the channel. Understand that specifically, because we do talk specifically about finances, that on Fridays, we're going to be doing we do a, we're doing a financial challenge this year. And the financial challenge is a pretty simple one. The financial challenge is about investing $10 a day, every day, 5 days a week, into a brokerage account. We are now 3 weeks into the challenge. Um, all donations made on Fridays go directly into growing that portfolio that we're building. We've chosen E-Trade. For those of you who are interested in being a part, make sure you um, subscribe to the channel. Those conversations are for subscribers only, but continue to follow. Um, Understanding that when we start talking about investing, it's the same thing. It's about the discipline of being able to do it. It's about being able to control our behaviors, being able to control our areas of spending quite often and consumption and the things that we consume, and then taking those resources and putting those resources to work for us. And again, it is the 28th of January. It is now 5:52 in the morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you for stopping in and being a part of the talk this morning. Thank you for sharing. If you haven't had a chance to do so, as I said before, please go ahead, tap that like button, say good morning. And as always, when you're checking in, let me know where you're checking in from, what time of day it is where you are. 5:53. We do have some check-ins from Sweden and from Texas. from Wisconsin, from London. It's always great to hear and speak with you guys. And so having you here is important for the growth and development of the channel, but I also hope that it's beneficial to your own growth and development, that you're learning something and getting something here that can help you look into your future, look into your life, and understand that taking ownership of your daily behaviors, taking ownership of your actions gives you more power. There must be attention and intention. I think I want to speak on this more in the future. Let me know if you would like to know more about this in the future, guys, because paying attention and acting with intention is going to be able to us move us along, excuse us, very rapidly. And what I mean by that is when we look at things that need to be done, when we pay attention to what's in front of us and where we're headed, and we intentionally take steps to move in a specific way to achieve our goals, we are making changes, we're taking strides. I want to thank everyone. For some of you, those of you who know, the channel launched January 7th of 2025. It's now 2026. We were able to achieve monetization on the channel in October of this year. So thank you for everyone who helped us get this far. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being a part of the conversations. Thank you for being consistent and showing up. Thank you for your continued support and always. As we continue to grow, it greatly benefit the channel. Any contributions that you'd like to make directly to the channel, we have the shop is open if you want to go take a look at some of the new things in the shop. We do have our our RPCP caps, which are repetition, patience, consistency, and perseverance. You can pick up yourself a RCPC cap. Also, you can also grab yourself a resistant mindset t-shirt. I have some on the way that I've recently ordered. And the resistance mind state is simply an understanding that everything becomes stronger under resistance, right? Everything becomes stronger when it is challenged. And if you want to grow your you want to grow your mindset, you want to grow your mental capacity, your way of engaging, you need to find an area to challenge it. You need to have some resistance, which means you need to be able to think contrary to what is always being told to you. Don't take this to mean you must act contrary to what is being told to you. But we do need to learn how to think and see things from multiple perspectives, because doing so makes us stronger. We have a comment here. This is always and forever towards everyone. Thank you, UK. Thank you for checking in. Blessings to the universe. I'm well here on earth right now. Hope you're doing well is also. And always, guys, always remember that when we start looking at the resistance mind state, what we're talking about is basically it's like working out. The way you develop and grow from working out is you have to be up under load, right? And you have to have some resistance. And having that resistance starts to grow. It starts to help you develop. It starts to help you. When I leaned in, was that a jump scare? I leaned into I'm sorry about. So, so one of the things that you have to understand, guys, is when you put something under resistance, when you start to push against something, you're going to get that growth. You're going to get that benefit of that resistance that's going to build strength in so many different areas. Everywhere in life, everywhere in creation, where there is resistance, there is a benefit from it. Trees that grow up in wind are more durable, more they live longer. Those that survive the harsh conditions have stronger trunks. Their roots reach deeper into the ground. And so when we start talking about development in an environment where and a lot of times because comfort is easy, and Fable could be one of the first ones to tell you, you have to start to look for challenges. Like, please, guys, if you haven't done so yet, please like, subscribe, make sure we share. I just want to make sure we're getting this message out to everyone. When you start to look at things and then you seek out and you find areas of resistance, you can go to my family channel, right? So we have two other channels. My wife runs a channel which is called The Baby Birds. And what you can see is with our children, with our relationship and our development with our children, we start to have conversations with them early about their thoughts, about how they feel about something, because it's important to understand that you have a thought on something, right? Doesn't mean it's right, right? But it's important to have it because thinking is going to be a part of learning. Having this interest of I don't want to go to bed. Great. Let's uncover this, right? Because you not wanting to go to bed is a thought. That's not an emotion. Like the emotion might be sad or anger or frustration or whatever it may be. But the thought is, I don't want to do this. I don't understand this. I don't know, like, why is this a thing? Right? And so that requires for us as parents, as guides, to be able to lead our family through this process, to lead our children through this process. But we have to do the same thing for ourselves. When we look at something and we're like, I don't like this thing, or even if I do like this thing, can I investigate it? Can I think about it? Can I give it more thought and insight? Doing so helps us to grow. It helps us to develop. It helps us to learn more about ourselves. It helps us to pay attention and act with intention. And this is part of that resistance mindset that says it is against resistance that I'm able to see growth. Um, Thank you everyone for being here this morning. Thank you for stopping in. Um, Somebody reminder, really. Not a problem. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. It's now 6:01 in the morning, guys. I want to say, again, if you haven't done so, double tap that screen, guys. Drop a like, subscribe, share. Become a part of the movement in your own life. Apply to your own life the repetition, the patience, consistency, and perseverance necessary to see your growth. Go ahead and start the process of understanding that what you're looking to do and what we're looking to achieve in our lives requires us to be invested. And until we are invested in our own development, we you cannot ask someone to care more about you than you care about yourself. You can't ask someone to help you develop a fitness program if you don't care enough about yourself to set aside time for the fitness program. It's and then say, well, I tried that plan, it really doesn't work. I've gone to the gym, it really doesn't do anything. There has to be resistance. There has to be challenge. And especially when we're making breakthroughs, Guy, and this goes back to the point today, growth is not linear. When we're making breakthroughs and we're moving forward, there are plateaus that we may reach that make us feel like we're not going any further, we're not getting any stronger, we're not achieving any better. And it's at those times when we have to be able to pay attention and with intention take steps to make this growth continue, because the same thing happens in the world, like technology companies that just go flat. They don't look towards the future. They say, well, everything is going to be the way it is. They don't change their approach, they don't change their actions, they don't change They don't change because the core principle and the purpose doesn't have to change in order for you to understand the way that you're trying to get to it may need to. And so, if we don't do course corrections, if we don't understand that growth is not linear, growth is going to travel a circuitous route. If we don't take this into consideration and we don't act on it appropriately, we're going to get lost. We're going to get left behind in our own lives. Our life is going to leave us behind, and we're going to watch the world leave us behind because we think everything should be the way it's always been and it should work for me the way it's always worked. This is a call today, guys. This is my area where I would like to encourage. If you haven't taken the steps yet to start moving towards the life and the purpose that you would like to have, you've come to the right place. Join the channel. Please reach out so that we can get you a copy of our discipline dividend. The discipline dividend system is simply about the process of understanding that as you apply discipline to anything in your life, that investment, that financing of that thing will return dividends. There will be a residual return into your life from that. You invest into your relationships, they become better. You invest into your job, you become better. The growth becomes better. You invest into your faith, your life becomes better. When you invest into your finances, your financial situations and your future becomes better. You invest into your fitness, your health, and your quality of life becomes better. These are the dividends. These are the return on the investments that are made in those places. I'm letting you know today, if you're interested in seeing growth and development in any of these areas, you're in the right place. Thank you for being a part of this, guys. Once again, thank you for being here. It is now 6:05 in the morning, guys. I appreciate everyone stopping in. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you again. Please visit the channel, like, subscribe, share. Understand that your growth and development is in your hands. And then with everything that we do, guys, continue to focus on keep showing up, keep growing up, keep blowing up. Until next time, guys, take care. Thank you for being in here. God bless.